There is no doubt that her family's sufferings were groundless, had negligible cause, and were ridiculously exaggerated, but if you have a wart on your nose or forehead, it seems to you that all anyone in the world does and has ever done is to look at your wart, laugh at it, and denounce you for it, though for all that you may have discovered America. Nor is there any doubt that in society Lizaveta Prokofyevna was indeed considered an eccentric, but for all that she was indisputably respected, yet Lizaveta Prokofyevna began in the end not to believe that she was respected. That was her whole trouble. Looking at her daughters, she was tormented by the suspicion that she was continually hindering their careers in some way, that her character was ridiculous, indecent, and unbearable, for which, naturally, she continually accused her daughters and Ivan Fyodorovitch, and spent whole days quarreling with them and at the same time loving them to distraction and almost to the point of passion. Most of all she was tormented by the suspicion that her daughters were becoming the same sort of eccentrics as she, and that no such girls existed in the world, or ought to exist. They're growing up into nihilists, that's what. She constantly repeated to herself. Over the last year and especially most recently this sad thought had grown stronger and stronger in her. First of all, why don't they get married? She constantly asked herself. So as to torment their mother, in that they see the whole purpose of their life, and that is so, of course, because there are all these new ideas, this whole cursed woman question. Didn't Aglaya decide half a year ago to cut off her magnificent hair? Lord, even I never had such hair in my day. She already had the scissors in her hand. I had to go on my knees and beg her. Well, I suppose she did it out of wickedness, to torment her mother, because she's a wicked, willful, spoiled girl, but above all wicked, wicked, wicked. But didn't this fat Alexandra also follow her to cut off that mop of hers, and not out of wickedness, not out of caprice, but sincerely, like a fool, because Aglaya convinced her that she'd sleep more peacefully and her head wouldn't ache? And they've had so many suitors, it's 5 years now, so many, so many. And really, there were some good, even some excellent people among them. What are they waiting for? Why don't they get married? Only so as to vex their mother, there's no other reason. None. None. Finally, the sun also rose for her maternal heart, at least one daughter, at least Adelida, would finally be settled. That's at least one off my back, Lizaveta Prokofyevna used to say, when she had to express herself aloud. To herself she expressed it much more tenderly. And how nicely, how decently the whole thing got done. Even in society it was spoken of respectfully. A known man, a prince, with a fortune, a nice man, and on top of that one pleasing to her heart, what, it seemed, could be better? But she had feared less for Adelida than for her other daughters even before, though the girl's artistic inclinations sometimes greatly troubled Lizaveta Prokofyevna's ceaselessly doubting heart. But, then, she's of cheerful character and has much good sense to go with it, which means that the girl won't be lost, she used to comfort herself in the end. She feared most of all for Aglaya. Incidentally, with regard to the eldest, Alexandra, Lizaveta Prokofyevna did not know whether to fear for her or not. Sometimes it seemed to her that the girl was completely lost, 25 years old, meaning she would be left an old maid. And with such beauty. Lizaveta Prokofyevna even wept for her at night, while Alexandra Ivanovna spent those same nights sleeping the most peaceful sleep. But what is she, a nihilist, or simply a fool? That she was not a fool, of that, incidentally, Lizaveta Prokofyevna had no doubt. She had extreme respect for Alexandra Ivanovna's opinions and liked to consult her. But that she was a wet hen of that there was no doubt, so placid, there's no shaking her up. However, wet hens aren't placid either, Pa. They've got me totally confused. Lizaveta Prokofyevna had some inexplicable commiserating sympathy with Alexandra Ivanovna, more even than with Aglaya, who was her idol. But her acrimonious outbursts, in which her maternal care and sympathy chiefly expressed itself, her taunts, such names as wet hen, only made Alexandra laugh. It would reach the point where the most trifling things would anger Lizaveta Prokofyevna terribly and put her beside herself. Alexandra Ivanovna liked, for instance, to sleep long hours and usually had many dreams, but her dreams were always distinguished by a sort of extraordinary emptiness and innocence, suitable for a 7-year-old child, and so even this innocence of her dreams began for some reason to annoy her mother. Once Alexandra Ivanovna saw 9 hens in a dream, and this caused a formal quarrel between her and her mother. Why? It is difficult to explain. Once, and only once, she managed to have a dream about something that seemed original. She dreamed of a monk, alone, in some dark room, which she was afraid to enter. The dream was at once conveyed triumphantly to Lizaveta Prokofyevna by her 2 laughing sisters, but the mother again became angry and called all 3 of them fools. She's placid as a fool, and really a perfect wet hen, there's no shaking her up, yet she's sad. There are times when she looks so sad. What is she grieving about? Sometimes she put this question to Ivan Fyodorovitch, hysterically, as was usual with her, threateningly, expecting an immediate answer. Ivan Fyodorovitch would hem, frown, shrug his shoulders, and, spreading his arms, finally decide. She needs a husband. Only God grant he's not one like you, Ivan Fyodorovitch. Lizaveta Prokofyevna would finally explode like a bomb. Not like you in his opinions and verdicts, Ivan Fyodorovitch. Not such a boorish boor as you, Ivan Fyodorovitch. Ivan Fyodorovitch would immediately run for his life, and Lizaveta Prokofyevna, after her explosion, would calm down. Naturally, towards evening that same day she would inevitably become extraordinarily attentive, quiet, affectionate, and respectful towards Ivan Fyodorovitch, towards her boorish boor Ivan Fyodorovitch, her kind, dear, and adored Ivan Fyodorovitch, because all her life she had loved and had even been in love with her Ivan Fyodorovitch, which Ivan Fyodorovitch himself knew excellently well and for which he infinitely respected his Lizaveta Prokofyevna. But her chief and constant torment was Aglaya. Exactly like me, my portrait in all respects, Lizaveta Prokofyevna said to herself, a willful, nasty little demon. nihilistic, eccentric, crazy, wicked, wicked, wicked. Oh, Lord, how unhappy she's going to be. But, as we have already said, the risen sun softened and brightened everything for a moment. There was nearly a month in Lizaveta Prokofyevna's life when she rested completely from all her worries. On the occasion of Adelaida's impending wedding there was also talk in society about Aglaya, while Aglaya everywhere bore herself so beautifully, so equably, so intelligently, so victoriously, a little proudly, but that was so becoming to her. She was so affectionate, so affable to her mother for the whole month. True, this Yevgeny Pavlovitch must still be very closely scrutinized, plumbed to the depths, and besides, Aglaya doesn't seem to favor him much more than the others. All the same she had suddenly become such a nice girl, and how pretty she is, God, how pretty she is, and getting better day by day. And then, that nasty little prince, that worthless little idiot, appeared and everything immediately got stirred up, everything in the house turned upside down. What had happened, though? For other people, probably, nothing would have happened. But this was what made Lizaveta Prokofyevna different, that in a combination and confusion of the most ordinary things, she always managed, through her ever-present worry, to discern something that inspired in her, sometimes to the point of morbidity, a most insecure, most inexplicable, and therefore most oppressive, fear. How must it have been for her now, when suddenly, through that whole muddle of ridiculous and groundless worries, there actually came a glimpse of something that indeed seemed important, something that indeed seemed worthy of alarms, doubts, and suspicions,